Peace, 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 peace to everybody out there on planet Earth. Rob Blackstorm Watson, coming to y'all. I hope everybody's having a good day, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you are viewing this content. I appreciate you spending your time with me, because I know you could be spending it with someone else. The topic I want to discuss tonight is near and dear to my heart, something that I've dealt with for most of my life, and I think I've come to a place now where I could give advice on ways that I've mastered something that's been, plaguing me for a good portion of my life. But I studied, researched, and implemented certain things that now I'm able to stand on my own 2 feet. And the topic that I'm talking about tonight is depression. How to fight it, or depression, make yourself great again, or how to make yourself great again, right? Now, the thing about depression is depression just creeps in. I myself suffer from seasonal affective disorder. So usually around, let's say September, not really September, I want to say more so November. So around November, usually what happens is I start getting depressed. And I start feeling like, it just feels like the world kind of just caves in. And it comes out of nowhere, and it just creeps in, and it's the lack of sunlight that I discovered and the lack of vitamin D. Because we as melanated people, we get our vitamin D primarily from the sun. Where white people or Caucasian people or people of lighter hues get their vitamin D, they get more vitamin D within. It develops within themselves better. But because we're melanated, we do not have the same development of vitamin D in our bodies, because the vitamin D is sourced from the sun. Their vitamin D is sourced from within. So, and it's because they were in colder climates. So they needed to be able to produce vitamin D so that they could stay alive. That's the human organism. It is going to adjust and adapt. And we're going to deal with some of that neuroplasticity, which is the term. Now, neuroplasticity sounds like something futuristic. It's really not. All it is saying is that your brain is plastic. So if you think of your brain, when you're thinking thoughts and when you have ideas, you are essentially molding your brain. Think of every thought, think of every idea, think of every action, think of every decision as literally crafting and molding your brain into a different shape. So there's a form of neuroplasticity that you have. Now, the symptoms of depression we all know. You're antisocial, you're sad, you're fatigued, you're not motivated. This is what depression is. And you just want to lay in the bed. You just want to lay in the bed and eat Cheetos and, do nothing. You feel like the world is against you. You feel like you don't want to talk to people. You just feel like life is bad. And the thing is, if you talk to the average depressed person, they really don't want to kill themselves. I know when I was depressed, I really didn't want to kill myself. Maybe when I was younger. But as I got older and started seeing more things, I realized I didn't want to kill myself. I didn't want to commit suicide, but I wanted things to change. And that's really the crux of what depression is. You're sad, you feel this way, but you really want things to change, and you really can't see a way out. Now, let's look at what happens to the brain, because this is very important. Once we understand our brain and this neuroplasticity, or our brains being plastic, and every thought and every idea molding our brains, we will understand exactly what happens when we are depressed. And then we'll go into ways on how to fight this depression using the same science, right? And spirituality as well. So what happens is this. You have a situation, right? And that situation causes trauma. First and foremost, everything that is in the universe is energy, including thoughts, right? The smallest particle in the world is a photon, right? Photons are even smaller than atoms. And photons are nothing but, photon is just another fancy word for light. That's all it is. It's just a light wave. That light wave, light carries information, right? Light is when the light comes on, right? And this is easy to see. When the light comes on in your room, when it's dark, what do you see? You start seeing things, right? You start seeing information. You see a chair, you see a couch, you see a TV, you see a bed. So light actually sends information. And not only that, light is what we need to see things or to see images. Even when we are imagining, there is a form of light that goes into the brain to form images. So we are beings of light. Even when birth, science confirms that when you are born, not born, but when you are created, when the sperm actually hits the egg, there's a burst of light that occurs, and it can actually be seen. It's a neon type of light. You can look this up yourself. It's interesting, right? So we are actually beings of light. So what happens is we have a situation that occurs. It's a difficulty, right? Or it's a problem, and we can't see our way out. Or it's a difficulty that we may not be able to take care of in the here and now or in the immediate future. So this difficulty, what it does is it causes us to feel. And what happens is when we start to feel, we have a choice. Now remember, Kanye said slavery is a choice, and everybody was mad at him, right? But we have to realize that we have a choice in life. And the biggest choice that we have is to be either victims or to be victors. There's no middle ground for that, right? We have to realize that everything that comes from the outside world, we have a choice as to whether we're going to take it in and how we're going to process it. For instance, let's use a scenario, right? Let's say I am stuck in traffic, right? I'm stuck in traffic and I don't really have any place to go to get to exactly. I have some place to go, obviously, because I'm driving, right? But I can't, I don't have I'm not going to my job or something that is time. Or let's say I'm going to my job, right? So I'm going to my job. I'm stuck in traffic. I have a choice on how I'm going to respond to me being stuck in traffic on my way to my job. I could either say, I could either start flipping and start cursing and start going crazy and start being upset and start saying, why me? Or I could take the situation for what it is. I'm stuck in traffic. Maybe pull out my Kindle on my phone. Maybe phone a friend. Maybe, scroll Instagram. Maybe, you don't want to meditate if you're in traffic, right? Because the traffic might change. But do something that's maybe constructive, maybe write, get on your notepad and your phone and start writing ideas. Start planning out your days. Start figuring out what you're going to cook tonight. There's many constructive things that you could do with that time rather than be upset. So the first and foremost thing we have to realize is we have to guard our third eye. We have to guard our minds, because now we know that there's neuroplasticity. So everything that our mind takes in, or every form of light, which is information, right? So now we're going full circle. So every form of light or all the information that we actually take in is a choice. We have to make a decision on how we're going to take it in. So if something or a problem happens, we have to decide. Are we going to be a victim to it, or we are going to be a victor? And that is the first step. That is the first step. Now, let's say this thing is troubling. My car gets towed, right? I have traffic tickets. My car got towed. I could be upset, right? Damn, I got traffic tickets. My car's got towed. Fuck New York Transit. And I still feel that way about the people that towed my car. This is a real life scenario. Or I could say, let me figure out how I'm going to get some money, or let me figure out how I'm going to get my car out and take care of the tickets. Let me figure out who I could hit up, or let me figure out what I could sell, or let me figure out what hustle I could do to scrape up some money real quick. Or if it got to sit for a little while, let me figure out, if it sits, how I could make sure that this doesn't happen again. Or I could just start complaining, start being upset, start being you know, start being belligerent, take it out on my girlfriend, take it out on my kids, you know, because what happens is when we get anger or when we get depressed, we are actually denying not only our best selves, but it's affecting others because people that are around us are affected by our depression. Now, usually when you're depressed, you don't want to be around anyone. At least myself, when I was depressed, I didn't want to be around a soul. But what happens is, you know, and you kind of push people away at the same time as well. So we know we're light. We know what's going on with the brain. Now, another part of this is you have something in your brain called the prefrontal cortex. You have something called a hippocampus, prefrontal cortex, and the amygdala. So we're going to go into the amygdala, and I'm going to try to break this down as easy as possible because I know I'm using, big words, so to speak. But I'm going to break this down to the simplest compound. Your amygdala, think of an almond, right? You have one almond. That one almond is in your brain, right? Think of an almond in your brain. Now, the name amygdala actually means almond. So amygdala, almond, right? So what happens is when you are stressed and depressed, your amygdala, that almond, turns and inflates, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Because the brain is plastic, right? It's not static. It's like your credit report changes every month. That's the way your brain is. So your amygdala starts to expand, right? Starts to expand. Forgive this camera. This is actually a Note 9, but their front-facing camera sucks. Tell Samsung that. But I'm still going to do this lecture. So the amygdala, it starts to expand, right? It starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's the almond in your brain when you get stressed and when you get depressed, right? That energy that you bring in, or that darkness. You start dimming your light. You start bringing negative energy in. You start talking negative to yourself about the problem. You start talking negative to other people about the problem. That's what happens. Now, quick segue, and we'll go back to the amygdala. Now, there's not when the problem happens. When my car got towed, I didn't feel good about it, right? I didn't feel great about it. I wasn't happy. I wasn't at peace instantly, right? No one is when the problem happens. You're gonna feel like shit is fucked up. You're gonna feel like something wrong happened. You're gonna feel bad. That's totally natural. What's not natural is laying in that badness Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and beyond from that situation. That's what's not natural. What is natural is that situation happening and then figuring out a way to solve it, or figure out a plan to solve it, or figuring out a plan so that this doesn't happen again. Being proactive, right? Being proactive. Now, going back to the amygdala. So the amygdala, it's so that you get stressed, you get depressed. The amygdala is actually swollen in your brain, right? It swells up. The amygdala is connected. This is in the middle of your brain. These parts that I'm talking about, the amygdala and the hippocampus. So the amygdala, the almond, is swollen. It is connected to the hippocampus. It's kind of like, if you want to say like a crescent moon, right? If you look at it, it's connected to the hippocampus. The almond is connected to the hippocampus. Okay. The hippocampus is shaped like a seahorse. If you look at the hippocampus, actually, when you look at it online, if you turn it flat, it actually looks like a seahorse. So the amygdala is the almond, right? Stress, swelling, feeds the hippocampus, which is the seahorse. Now, the amygdala, what it does is it regulates your mood. So the amygdala determines whatever emotion you give it, or whatever light you give that amygdala, that's what it's going to respond to. See, the way your brain works, it responds to whatever information that you give your brain. Your brain has no idea what's going on. You drive your brain through your prefrontal cortex. This is your prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex starts on the top of your brain. It controls your decision making. It is the driver's seat. If you think of your brain as a car, your prefrontal cortex is the driver's seat. That's what you're trying to develop. higher dimensions of thinking. You're trying to bring as much light and as much electricity and as much energy to that part of your brain. What happens is when you have the amygdala swollen, your brain is taking that light or taking that energy from the prefrontal cortex and bringing it to the amygdala. The amygdala says, damn, we're stressed. We have a problem. His car got towed. Amygdala starts swelling. His car got towed. He's stressed. He's talking negative. He's bringing energy. So what happens is it goes to the hippocampus, right? The hippocampus stores your energy. So that seahorse, right, which is the hippocampus, stores that energy. The hippocampus actually doesn't like that, because what the hippocampus is responsible for is taking the light or the energy you give. Car got towed, fucked up, taking that fucked up energy. It goes to the hippocampus. Hippocampus starts swelling, says, yo, this energy is fucked up. I don't like the way it feels. It goes to, goes to the amygdala, right? Says, this is fucked up. The amygdala's like, yeah, this is fucked up. I feel you. It's swelling. Goes to the hippocampus as a memory. The hippocampus, what it does is it stores memory. So these are the parts of your brain. No one teaches us this, because who wants to teach us how to be happy and how not to be depressed, right? It is against this modern day society rule, because if they can keep you stressed and they could keep you depressed, guess what? You're going to try to buy your way out of depression. You're going to try to consume your way out of depression, whether it's buying fancy clothes, whether it's having sex with random people for no reason, whether it's obesity or just eating, whether it's porn, you name it, whether it's doing drugs, you name it. You're going to try to consume your way out of your depression. And that is what capitalism in America is founded on. Consumerism. The more you buy, the better it is for them. You become that battery that they talk about in the Matrix, right? Black people have $1.2 trillion of spending power. It's a lot of power, right? But think about where it's going to. It's going to consumerism, because we're under stress and we are under attack, and we are made to be stressed, or made to think that we should be stressed, so that we can continue to be rampant consumers. That's really the game. You heard it here first. So the hippocampus stores the memory of this bad event, the car getting towed. The hippocampus stores that memory because the amygdala, which is the almond, you could say the almond is fed into the seahorse. The amygdala, almond, hippocampus, seahorse. So the almond is fed into the seahorse, right? So you're feeding bad energy into that seahorse. What happens is the hippocampus, it starts to say, okay, I don't ever want to experience this again, right? I don't want to feel it, because the hippocampus actually starts to rot from that memory, because it's bad energy. So it actually starts to rot. Look this up. Don't just take my word for it. So it rots from this bad energy. Also, what happens is you put pressure on your heart. The number one killer of black people in America is heart disease. So you start to put pressure on your heart. Once you start putting that pressure on your heart, because your sympathetic nervous system is on the outside of your heart. So you're putting this pressure on your heart. It's affecting your sympathetic nervous system. It hits your body, goes to your brain, produces hormones. Those hormones, which are light, affect your amygdala and your hippocampus. And what that does is it fucks up your prefrontal cortex, because the resources that will go to your enlightenment, that will go to your pineal gland, that will go to your clairvoyant abilities, that will go to your psychic abilities, that will go to you getting the great idea for the next great business, that will give you that intuition to bring that new thing under the sun, is now under the direction of stress. And you are actually weakening your physical system, or you're weakening your body, you're weakening your spirit, because your spirit comes through this vehicle. Your spirit is coming through this vehicle, right? This is your vehicle for spirit. This is your vehicle for energy. This is your vehicle for chi. This is your vehicle for breath. How my man says, breathing that good ass prana, baby. You know, breath. That's spirit, prana. So you need to be at full capacity to maximize these things. So I want to go into a couple quick things, ways to get Because you want that prefrontal cortex lit up. That's the goal of this whole thing. That's the goal of this whole spiritual path, is to get that prefrontal cortex lit up and to have that spirit channeled properly through your body so you can get divine intuition, so you could become as light as that feather on the scale of judgment in Kemet or in Egypt. If you ever saw the picture of the Day of Judgment with the heart and the feather on the scale, you know, you want that receptivity, and you want to be able to control what you are receptive to, so you could start to bring in more light. This is a game of light and sound, this planet. Sound waves and light waves, for real. So I want to get into some things. Now, first things first, if you're depressed, the first thing you want to do is get your ass up out of bed and talk to the mirror, right? I had to do this myself. I had days. I used to be sleeping on my sister's couch, right? People who know me will know this story. I had sleeping on my sister's couch, depressed, right? And I had a job. I had a good job, and then I lost the good job that I had. I got a trash job. I think I was making $11 an hour. And I was just depressed, you know, stressed out, making way, you know, I think I was making at the time, I think I was making like in the 50s. And I went down to $11 an hour. On top of that, I had recently broke up with someone I was in a long-term relationship with. You know, that's the reason I was on my sister's couch in the first place, because I was living with the person. So I was depressed, you know, and I was smoking my life away, smoking as much weed as I possibly could. And then I realized I can't keep doing this shit, you know, I can't keep doing this shit. And what really happened to me is, I was on YouTube one day and I saw a Tony Robbins video. Tony Robbins is a motivational speaker. And I stumbled upon his video, and he said, I wasn't always Tony Robbins. I built this motherfucker, right? And something about when he said that, it kind of changed my whole perspective on life and on everything. And I realized, and it made me look, I would literally walk to the mirror and start talking to myself and telling myself what I wanted to be, the direction I wanted to go, and the person I wanted to be. And started going back to the gym, started meditating again, and believe it or not, man, people started coming. You know, women would come and help me, you know, with no intention of, you know, being my boyfriend or being their boyfriend or whatever, just help. Guys would come, checks would come out of nowhere. Opportunities for places to live would come out of nowhere, and things just started to come. Now, the first things first is I had to make the step. And, you know, thank the universe, thank the ancestors, thank the gods and goddesses of the universe that I was able to get, you know, that information, that Tony Robbins, you know, that came to me. But I had to get up. I had to, something in me was like, yo, I can't do this. I can't stay like this anymore. I can't just sit in bed anymore. I gotta figure out a way. And then I stumbled upon the Tony Robbins video, you know, but this started really from a thought. Even now that I'm talking about it, this started from a thought. It was me having an idea, sitting on my sister's couch one day, like, I don't want to do this anymore. Her beefing about me about some bullshit, right? If you're watching this, D, I love you. And I'm like, yo, I can't do this, you know, and I made a move, and then I made another move, and things have been better ever since. You know, I very rarely, but the first thing you have to do is you have to know you got to fight through depression. Depression is not going to be easy. Depression is not going to be something that you're going to be able to just sit down and chill. You know, depression is something you have to fight through. And depression is really just a warning sign. And depression is more of a sign telling you, look, you got to get up off your ass. Look, you got a dream or your goal, you got to go fix it. Depression is a sign telling you to get up and get moving. The reason you're depressed, you should actually be thankful. It doesn't look that way when you're depressed, but depression is telling you, yo, there's something that you want and that you're not getting. So you have to go get it. So depression is the ultimate fight. Depression is calling on you to fight. You know, it's calling on you to fight. You know, life is hard. I tell my kids that life is hard, but life is good. Life is hard. There's no way around it. You're gonna go through some shit in life. I don't care if you're a billionaire. Jeff Bezos got the most money in the world, and he's dealing with a scandal for leaving his wife. And he's a gazillionaire. You know what I'm saying? So stress and trouble, no matter how much money you have, is gonna hit you. It's how do you handle it? You gotta fight, and you gotta make a choice on what type of energy you're gonna take in, what type of light you're gonna bring in. No one can make that choice for you. So another thing is you gotta know you have to fight. That's the foundation of this shit. You gotta fight it, and you gotta find a hero. You gotta find a hero, and if you don't have people around you in your environment that are heroes, or that are gonna lift you up, or that are gonna raise you up, if you don't have that environment, which you don't always have, then find someone on YouTube that will lift you up. Right? Find a mentor. There's black people that are dope on YouTube. There's white people, there's Spanish people, there's Asian people, there's all type of people that can mentor you via YouTube. I did that myself with a couple of Bob Proctor classes, Abraham Hicks, Tony Robbins, Conjure Queen, this one, that one, Evan Carmichael. I still watch Evan Carmichael videos every single morning. He has this series called Pressos for entrepreneurs. I watch his videos every morning. One reason is because I want to be an entrepreneur. The second reason is because it's always positive shit to start my day. So it gets my mind right. Also, another thing, you should be doing some physical exercise in the morning. If you're a man, you shouldn't leave your house without doing a minimum of 10 push-ups. And that's a minimum. If you can't do 10 push-ups, start with whatever you can start with today, tonight. 10 push-ups ain't shit. You should be doing a minimum of that a day. Every day. When you wake up, 10 push-ups. One, because you want to get moving. When you're depressed, you're not moving. When you're depressed, you're not active. When you're depressed, you don't want to do anything. And you want to get the blood pumping so that when that blood is pumping, you're taking the energy from here, from your amygdala, right? You're taking from that almond swelling to make that memory in the hippocampus that this thing is stressful for your brain could start rotting. You're moving energy now. You're moving chi from your brain to your body, and you're causing blood flow. Once you cause that blood flow, you're stirring endorphins. Endorphins are happy hormones. That's what you want. You want as many endorphins as you can. Just like if you're a weed smoker, you want as many cannabinoids as you can, right? But that's another story for another day. So depression is a habit. Like anything, positivity is a habit. So repetition is the key. You have to, if you're going to fight depression, it has to be a daily battle. You can't sleep. You can't sleep at all. Depression is repetition. It's a habit. So the same way depression is a habit, you think bad every day, or you think something's wrong, or you have a mood, you have to physically and mentally fight this mood. And how you do that is by environment and information. Those are the only two ways. You have to season your environment, and you have to get new information. When those two things come into play, environment and information, that's when you become powerful. And also you have to watch your associates and the people you keep around you. That can lead to your depression. Sometimes you have to cut people off that you outgrow. There's nothing wrong with that. They'll meet you on the other side. If they're really for you, they're going to ride with you when you change. And if they're not with you when you change, you're going to meet new people that are vibing with your tribe. You want to vibe with your tribe. You want to have a tribe that vibes with you, not people that are going against you. Or you have frenemies, or, friends that hate you. Why do people do that? I don't know, but people do it. So these are the things that lead to depression. If you're seeking, I am not a doctor. If you're seeking suicide or something like that, definitely get help. There's a suicide hotline, seek professional help. However, remember, suicide is a permanent solution for a temporary problem. So suicide, you're gone forever, and this thing will pass. But you got to put the work in to help it pass. It's not going to pass on its own. Ain't nobody coming out of the sky to come help you. And that's what I had to realize. I got to conquer this on my own. I have to take care of it on my own. I got to make this shit happen. I got to get active. I got to get this melanin moving so that I could magnetize what I want, because we are electromagnetic beings. We are magnets, right? Look that up. You are an electromagnetic being. You are light. You are light. You are a source of energy. So use that, right? This too will pass. This is going to pass. Whatever's going on, whatever depression is happening now, it won't happen forever. And trust me, everybody suffers from depression every now and then. But it's all, how long will you suffer? And the way you condition yourself to not suffer long enough is to fight every day. And really, one of the first steps, before you even look at, the first step, you got to look in the mirror, because you got to know why you're depressed. And you got to know what you want to fix. And you should write it down. Write down what you want to fix. Write down what you want to change. Write out affirmations and put them in the I am. I am happy. I am abundant. I am powerful. I am strong. These things, if you do it on a consistent basis, they will build the mental muscle, so that when the next obstacle hits you, it won't hit you so hard. And the thing about depression, the thing about stress, is it lowers your IQ. It drops your IQ, because energy is going, again, from your prefrontal cortex, which is the source of your IQ, which is the driver of your brain and your body, which is, you are the driver of your car. So when you're stressed, these things drop your IQ. So there's other ways to help fight depression. You could definitely, like I said, physical fitness, certain herbs. I wanted to show y'all this. I know this video is kind of long. If you fuck with me though, this is good information. So Damiana leaf. You put this root in a tea. What this is going to do, it affects the nervines. And nervines are the nerves in your body. So you know how people say you got bad nerves or you get on my nerves? This is the antidote to you get on my nerves. You take this, you're going to feel relaxed. People say it's an aphrodisiac. I take it. I don't necessarily feel horny, but it does increase blood flow. So I do feel better. I do feel more relaxed. I do feel happier. During the day, I do feel more focused. Things don't stress me out as much. So if you need a chemical pick-me-up, before you do your man in the mirror, because that's the first step. Your man in the mirror. Why? Why am I going through this? And what can I fix? And then write it down, right? Then try to get some physical. Even if you're a woman, you don't do push-ups, start running in place, jogging, get some 3-pound weights, do something, get active. That will help you get out of your depression faster than anything. Fitness, it's hard to be sad when you feel like you look like $1 million. It's very hard. And you could also fake it till you make it. Smile to yourself. It's another tactic you could use. Just smile. You smile, you're going to feel better. It's hard to be sad. It's hard to be stressed when you smile. Even if it's not real. Fake smile. There's chemicals in your body that when you smile, there's hormones of, there's dopamine that goes into your body. Dopamine is a happy hormone. So smiling makes you feel good. There's endorphins that happen when you smile. Simply smile. Right? But this is another thing that'll kickstart Damiana leaf. Another thing, I take this pretty much daily. Ashwagandha root. Ashwagandha is another good feeling herb. It's a good feeling tea. It has, for sake of brevity, you could look this up on somebody else's channel. You don't have to use this brand. I just chose this brand because this is the brand that I picked up. But there are other brands. I always recommend the root, though, just a straight root, like how the Damiana is, instead of just the processed tea bags, because, somebody have to process it and put it in the bag. With the root, you boil it. Somebody has to process the root. Pick the root, too. But with the root, you get more of the essence, at least to me, than you do from the tea bag. I like the root. But if you like the tea bag, you can get this. And I'm sure they have Damiana tea bags, too. So that is ashwagandha root. So, I don't know if you can see it. Ashwagandha. All right. And the third thing is there is Alvita. Alvita, St. John's wort. So not it's not Alvita. The fuck Alvita. Fuck the brand. St. John's wort. St. John's wort it's a pretty heavy herb. It's like Damiana. Damiana's heavy too. Ashwagandha is not really heavy. Ashwagandha is more light-headed. You'll feel better though. It does enhance mood, and St. John's wort is a little more heavy as well. I would recommend Damiana and St. John's wort for someone that is in this combination, right? For someone in severe depression, like almost suicidal, just going through it. I would recommend this as a combination of teas. Drink it together. You could also smoke Damiana. I tried it. I didn't really like it, but you can do it. It didn't really do anything bad for me, but I can't really say I did anything great. But this combination is also going to enhance your dreams. You'll get a lot more lucid dreams. It's going to enhance your abilities. If you have psychic abilities, clairvoyant abilities as well, this will help. All right. So St. John's wort, another powerful herb, antidepressant, a lot of good things. Again, look these up for yourself. I'm not a doctor, so look these up for yourself. See your medical physician, all that. And there's another thing you could do as far as, I don't know if there's a show on Netflix. What's the name of that shit? Altered Carbon. It's a sci-fi series on Netflix, right? And there's a scene where one of the characters' daughters is not doing well. And again, forgive me with this camera. I gotta get the S10, but whatever. So, but yeah, so Altered Carbon, one of the characters is trying to take care of his daughter. His daughter has been abused. Most of her youth been going through a lot of rough things. So in the actual series, you'll see the character, which is played by, he's actually the butler of a hotel. It's a long story, but anyway, the butler takes the daughter from the father and says, "Look, I'm going to heal her," and he puts her in a room that's all pink. And if you notice during the scenes when she's healing, she's in pink rooms. Color psychology is important. Look up the color pink. The color pink has been used to market things to you, so you should know what it does to you psychologically, right? And it takes you less than 5 seconds to Google. Real talk. But if you want to do and heal, and even if you're a man, pink magic, pink candles, lighting pink candles, putting sage on top of the pink candles. You could even put Damiana inside the candles. The most important thing when you're doing candle magic is your intention, the energy you put into the candle, how you feel about the candle, what do you feel the candle's going to do, because it's all energy at the end of the day. So I would recommend pink candles. It has helped me. I have done that when I felt like things were going bad, or when I felt like I was going to slip back. It has helped along with, and again, this is going to take time. I didn't just stop. I suffer from seasonal affective disorder as well, so I didn't just stop becoming depressed, automatically. It does take time. It took me I would say probably 6 months of repetition to really no longer just get depressed over little shit. So when I was depressed, so it took me that long to not be depressed over little shit. So, yeah, it takes time. It's a lot of work. I'm just thinking back. It is work, but every day, repetition, staying positive, putting positive things, reading positive things, taking in positive information. Don't pay attention to these pain pimps out here. These people, Gucci. Fuck what Gucci's doing. Fuck what Burberry's doing. Worry about you. It's easy to say, I'm going to worry about black people. It's easy to say, I'm going to worry about the environment. It's easy to say, I'm going to worry about X, Y, Z as an escape from fixing you, as an escape from bettering you. Focus on you. Guess what? Because if you focus on you, you make the environment better. If you focus on you and making yourself better, you make black people better. If you focus on you and getting yourself together, you make the world better. So it's always about you. Always. It's always about what you will accept, what you will choose. The Egyptians, in the mystery school, the first thing was, man, know thyself. So know yourself. Again, if you need therapy, take therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. I just chose different methods, and it seems to be working for me. This winter, it's already February, I don't think I've been depressed once. Last winter, I suffered a little bit, maybe for a week, but it passed pretty quickly. I started doing the pink magic last year, and that's what helped me through that hump, and I got over it quick. And last year, I was going through a lot during that time period, so it was just slamming me, testing me, like, am I really built for this? And life is going to test you. It's going to test you on these principles. Are you really built for this? Are you really going to do it? But it is a choice. It's a choice of what type of light you're going to take in. And, nature, last but not least, nature is one of the things you could use to heal yourself. Go out in nature, touch a tree, walk barefoot, put your feet in some water, listen, watch the sunset. Nature heals. Nature that's where we're from. We are from the earth. Our flesh and our skin and our blood is from the earth. We are part of the earth. So when you go back into the earth in beautiful environments, it actually heals you because you are one with that. We are flesh and bone. We come from earth. This is just a house. From dust we are, from dust we will become. So go into nature. With that said, peace, power, and prosperity. I hope this helps someone. Please leave me a comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I'm going to try to get better and better at delivering this information the best way I know how. Peace to all the new subscribers. Peace to all the old subscribers. Peace to the people that are watching and listening. And I hope you have a great day or night. Peace, power, prosperity, and divinity. One love, y'all.